Greetings, everyone. This is Rock and Roll Spot Connection with the weekly comic roundup. We've made it through the vast majority of the roundup now to wrap things up with this week's non-event DC books. As well, the other DC books we covered were all part of the Night Terrors event. Kicking things off, we've got Batman the Brave and the Bold, number 3. So it does appear that the Batman Joker story from the first 2 issues is at least on a brief hiatus, as that story is not continued in this issue. My guess would be that the creative team had to take a break, possibly had to take a break. So, our stories are Mr. Baseball, Stormwatch, Down with the Kings, Part 3, Superman Order of the Black Lamp, Part 3, and All Things Considered. So, Mr. Baseball is a Batman story. Some goons are attacked by a guy with a baseball bat. Baseball bat wrapped in barbed wire. The assailant is revealed to be a man in a suit with a rather odd scar, odd and large scar on his head. And pride of, and fondness for using baseball terms as he kills these various goons. Apparently, Batman learned of what's going on through his undercover identity matches Malone. Apparently, across town, crime boss is in a safe house, though it's not realized to not be too safe as Batman has made it in. And we're told the story of Mr. Baseball. Apparently, he was a crew runner. Obsessed with baseball and would moneyball the perfect team for any score. He explained it that it isn't always about the best guy for the job. It's always about the whole team. The crew that works well together stays together and stays out of jail. He had a plan also for the Batman, deal with Batman, which would be to usually get someone to cause trouble elsewhere in town that would get Batman's attention. However, he stole from this particular mob boss, and well, so I say, guy wasn't happy. Mr. Baseball got tracked down, roughed up, and basically he was scarred to the point of his head looking like a baseball. Taken to a street doctor known as the Vet. When everyone goes to check up on him, the idea being that, this guy is good, so maybe he can at least work off the debt. But yeah, the Vet is shown to be dead, and Mr. Baseball was apparently seen waiting outside the crime boss's window, pointing at it, kind of like Babe Ruth calling his shot. Mr. Baseball shows up. Him and Batman duke it out. And the crime boss's nephew betrays him, but Batman stops him. Mr. Baseball goes to jail, or Blackgate to be exact. told that escape isn't possible, and well, the story ends with Mr. Baseball saying any job is possible. You put together the right team. Moving on, though, to Down with the Kings, where we left off. Stormwatch had recovered a handful of artifacts, and the most recent one, the Dead Sea Sword, had been used to stab Peacemaker 01. Peacemaker 01 is in stable condition, but yeah. Next, I have to grab something from the Halo building. They managed to do so. This being an AI called malware, which had once briefly taken over Cyborg. But malware is taking over some of the Halo guards. Or at least one of them. But the team takes them down. The team takes both of them down. Though Ravager's not entirely happy. She's been trying to kind of move past being a killer. Afterwards, Flint takes the team to Clark's Bar, which is now under the ownership of Nigel Keane, formerly known as Hellstrike. First round for the teams on the house, old time's sake. And, but yeah, Ravager is considering leaving the team. And Mr. Bones is being asked some very pointed questions back on Skywatch about who's really behind Stormwatch. You know, who does Mr. Bones, who does Record Bones answer to? One member of the team is only there because he can take down the Flash. Bones is interested in malware because he can corrupt Cyborg. The Dead Sea Blade and the Darkness Engine for Aquaman and Superman. So, who is Bones really working for? Who's really behind Stormwatch? As this part of the story ends, however, Night Terrors begins, and the team as well as everyone else falls asleep. Looks like the next part will be a Night Terrors tie-in. Moving on to the Order of the Black Lamp. Superman, not Spider-Man, wrong universe. Superman has found a childhood hero of his, Hop Horrigan, a pilot that disappeared. However, it's noted that Horrigan hasn't aged a day in quite some time, and however, we find out just who's taken Horrigan and who's behind everything. Dr. Athelene is one who kidnapped Horrigan. He specializes and catalyzes on unique electrochemical processes threatening human memory, specifically targeted erasure. This is how the world has apparently forgot about Hop Horrigan. And it seems the idea is to make the world forget about Superman, potentially speaking. However, Horrigan activates the ring. Him and Superman escape. However, because Horrigan hadn't forgotten how to fly, but a failsafe that Athlete put in place goes into effect, and Horrigan has forgotten how to fly, leading to a water landing. Superman is found, and back at the office, he discusses the whole thing with Lois. Turns in his story to Lois, who asks him, or rather, he doesn't turn it in. He reminded of his deadline. You could do a piece on some secret pilot, pop somebody, to which Clark simply says, "Who?" That's where the story ends. Next, we have our obligatory black and white story. All things considered. City of Monsters is what the title card on the story says. A sleeker Batman has to deal with more supernatural threats in Gotham, and seemingly employs moderately supernatural weapons, moderately supernatural versions of his own gadgets, basically. More like, not like, spell enchanted weaponry, more like a batarang that's the size of that's in the shape of a normal batarang, but the size of a battle axe head. But Batman brings down a particular demon, all about thinking about how he is Gotham's savior, as it were. And that is where the issue ends. I do enjoy this book. The Superman story did have an interesting ending. I have to admit, it's a very smart way to avoid worrying about continuity. He forgot. Why would he even bring it up? Moving on, though, to our next book, we have Batman Beyond, Neo-Gothic, #1. New Batman Beyond miniseries. Always a fan of that. So, in years, I believe it was Batman Beyond year 0. The Gotham AI was taken down by Batman. Gotham was maybe not so much saved, but, at least not as bad as it got with the AI in charge. So we open, some kids give a cat person some coin, leads them into what appears to be a garden. But then, very suddenly, the children vanish into the garden. Batman deals with his usual great rogues at this kit point. We see him fighting Ink, as well as appears to be some Jokers and some disciples of Professor Pig. Terry gets a call from his mother. Apparently his brother has graduated. But she's enjoying Metropolis. It does appear that she's her religion is based around Superman now, Metropolis. But the Gestalt informs Terry of a series of disappearances. They appear random, but they're all the same. Though, of course, Damian Lumos, as the new owner of Wayne Powers, has heard of these, and well, he figures, oh, these disappearances are occurring in old abandoned houses. Well, we'll just knock them all down. Though it seems that the kids were all taken underground, and it was known as the Gotham Deep. Apparently, This is something that was likely explained in a previous Batman Beyond series, but probably released at a time I wasn't buying comics. Apparently, Neo-Gotham was basically built on top of Gotham City. So, but Terry runs into the cat person from earlier, basically wanting a tour guide. Though he asked the wrong question and was told to piss off. So Terry comes back as Batman, and well, noting, and Batman does note that Kyle, the cat person, is clearly does not have a pride to call upon. His fur is matted. But 100 creds per level to go down into further into Gotham. Runs into crime boss named Mr. Blunt. Batman deals with Blunt's goons, including one that appears to basically be a future version of Bane, who even tries to break Terry, much the same way that Bane broke Bruce. But as they move further down, as Kyle and Terry move further down into the sewers, or further down into Gotham Deep, turns out that Kyle grew up in, or Kyle did some time in the Gotham Juvenile Detention, as did Terry. And Batman gives Kyle his real name of Terry. But they go further down into the darkness, where they're attacked by King Croc. And that is where the issue ends. I'm presuming that it's actually Waylon Jones still alive after all this time due to his reptilian capabilities, and potentially speaking, reptiles can be very long-lived. Our next book, we're not really going to go over as much as the others, but we got Poison Ivy Uncovered. It's like the other Uncovered one-shots. It's a collection of covers. We have some brief transition pages that kind of give it a framing device. The framing device being that Ivy has infected you, the reader, with cordyceps spores. And so, as the reader is dying, various variant covers are shown off. The first batch is Ivy in her handy woman look. Coveralls, sports bra, work boots. Then the next transition has her classic look and focuses on covers that have Ivy in her classic look. the more classic look. The what appears best designed as a floral bathing suit, a floral one-piece bathing suit, or bodysuit in one case. After those, we get Plant Goddess Ivy covers. She talks about how she felt when her connection to the green was had been changed recently. Fractured, is how she puts it. Then, of course, then Harley shows up to for the final transition page, the last transition pages, which focus on showing off covers with both Ivy and Harley. And there's some honestly God, just adorable covers in that. And of course, we have a final one where you, the reader, are obviously dead. I honestly, I really enjoy these uncovered one-shots. It's a nice. I like the fact, especially, that it makes it a lot easier to, for those who may not have the financial capability of getting the high dollar, all of the high dollar variants, because, well, those can be pricey, or say high dollar as much as high rarity. Variant covers, generally speaking, are descendant variants. For example, while there are the normal variant covers, such as the cardstock covers that appear for almost every DC book, you still get things like 1 in 10 variant, 1 in 25, 1 in 100, so on and so forth. I can't speak for other shops, but I know the shop I go to with incentive variants, it's usually the price tag ends up being, if it's a 1 in 10, $9.99, 1 in 25, $24.99, 1 in 100, $99.99. You get the idea. But it does require, getting any of those does require the shop ordering a large number. And, a lot of shops won't do that because they know they can't sell that they likely won't be able to sell that many copies, regardless of how well liked the book is. Anyway, moving on to our last book, we have a new Black Label series, Superman: The Last Days of Lex Luthor, #1. Now, normally I am fairly against the idea of a Black Label book focusing on Superman. I feel like a mature reader's Superman title, actually, an actual Superman title that's mature readers targeted, misses the point of Superman. But this is written by Mark Waid, and to be fair, Waid is definitely a writer who clearly does get Superman. So, it's largely done as written as an article by Clark Kent. There was some trouble in off the coast of Bangladesh. A giant robot came out of the sea and probably caused trouble on one of the smaller islands. One that's just 6 feet above sea level. Basically hitting the ground hard enough to flood the whole island. But Superman shows up and manages to save everyone, save the island, and tears open the big old robot and finds Lex inside. But Lex explains that he's dying. Probably only has days left. And, well, he knows that there's one person he can ask for help who won't say no. Superman. And we also find out that Lex is broadcasting this to the world. but they come to a deal. If Superman's able to save Lex, Lex answers for all of his crimes. And Lex even states that he's loathed Superman since he first met him, since they first met. But Clark states that that's not true, because this utilizes the occasionally the Superman and Lex Luthor origin stories go all the way back to them having a shared childhood in Smallville. This is one of those stories. But basically, Clark is the only person, seems to be the only person in Smallville who doesn't look down on, who doesn't think Lex is just some weirdo. Though Clark does point out that Lex did have a bit of, and it was a bit arrogant, and would sometimes attempt to make a, maybe improve farm equipment without asking to. But they do become something of friends, and the closest thing to a friend that Lex likely had. But Clark tries to be Lex's conscience, and, well, yeah. Even the Kents don't entirely... Even Mom and Pa Kent don't exactly have the best opinion of Lex. But Clark is able to see that in the lab that Lex built, Lex is working with some weird rock. But the present, Superman takes Lex to the Fortress of Solitude, and more importantly, to the Bottle City of Kandor, where Lex is surprised to see that the people of Kandor tend to view Superman as, tend to pretty much revere him, though it's not something that Superman is entirely comfortable with. But they use the most advanced, their advanced technology, and yeah, there's nothing they can do either. There is one, in fact, stasis likely wouldn't even help. Except if he was in the Phantom Zone. While in the Phantom Zone, Superman tells Lex that it is possible to focus one's determination and willpower and be able to actually touch things within. But Zod and the other prisoners attack Superman, putting their... and Zod even gives hands Lex an ice and says, "Hey, this is your chance. You can kill him." However, Lex is like, "Yeah, I get you, but right now, he's my best chance at survival. So, how about rain check?" Superman leaves the Phantom Zone, and then Phantom Zone criminals actually managed to push Lex out. But in the past, Superman realizes there's a fire at Lex's lab and is trying to get Lex to come out before he injures himself, saying it's all his fault. And that is where the issue ends. One cool thing I noted was the fact that the scientists on Kandor have the way they're drawn in their outfits reminds me of old Doctor Who, and how the Time Lord Council, the other Time Lords would usually, like the Time Lord Council, would usually be drawn, or would be dressed. It's kind of a nice touch. Brian Hitch does our work on this, and it's phenomenal. But anyway, that is going to do it for now. As always, feel free to like, share, and subscribe. Big shout out to Patreon patron Xander Lee. Thank you so much for your support. Links to my Facebook, Twitter, Mastodon, Patreon, and PayPal can be found in the description box down below. This is Rock and Roll Spock signing off saying, live long and rock hard.